Hi, this is Roughhouse of Parahub Radio, the internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. Thanks for downloading this week's podcast. Now, this is a stripped-down version of our weekly show without the music and the commercials. If you'd like to hear the whole show, join us on Thursdays beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, and 3 a.m. in the UK. Just go to parahub.org and you can hear the whole show and chat with us. Thanks for downloading this week's show. Hope you enjoy it. Got a great interview for you. Larry Arnold wrote a book some time ago called Ablaze. It's about spontaneous human combustion. It's a subject that I don't hear very many radio shows talking about. We rock, you know. And you watch. There'll be about 5 or 6 other people who are going to talk about it after we do, because we're innovators, we're pioneers, we're blazing trails, so to speak.
I catch on fire every once in a while, but normally my wife puts me out.
Drop and roll. Drop and roll. Lord. Guess who got voted most talkative in the Ghost Divas Paranormal Yearbook? Who'd have thunk, right? Me, of all people. I'm not talking.
No way.
Am I that talkative?
I know.
Really?
No.
So hard to believe.
I thought you won the award for the worst breath.
That, well, I'm not going to admit to that, but, you know. There's several other awards that I also could have won, but we do have a family show, so I can't really get into those. Let's just say I can knock a cat off the counter here.
With your big boobs?
Without touching them, yeah.
Wow. Where's Pete for that one?
Yeah. Pete's got the night off. Apparently, he's got the plague. I'm sorry, Paula, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yep.
I didn't say anything.
Might need to turn your mic up just a little bit there. It's
Oh, okay.
Of course,
I'll turn my
you do have a
mic up.
sinus problem.
How was that, everybody?
Sounds
Yeah,
much better.
I sound like a
Awesome.
chipmunk tonight, you guys.
Yeah, Paula's got she's got brain boogers or something.
Ew.
Well,
Yeah, she keeps snorting and trying to spit stuff up off the air. It's kind of gross, Paula.
Oh my God, I thought that was Anthony. Sorry.
what? What did I miss?
Oh, my sinuses are haunted.
Oh, there you go. Ectoplasm.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is that ectoplasm dripping out then?
Tasty lime-flavored ectoplasm. Our studio number is 321-274-9898. May want to write that down in here just a little while. I'll give you a chance to win a copy of Larry Arnold's book, Ablaze, which he has so graciously autographed for us. And we'll be giving that away here in just a little while. As you may have known, last week we were talking about a storm coming through the area. Then another one. We've got one not far from us right now here, you know, because we're in Florida. For those of you who are brand new, Katz is out in Arizona, so this doesn't affect her whatsoever. But the rest of us are here in the great state of Florida. And Hannah, offshore right now, not too far from us, but not going to affect us. But this thing, Ike, I don't know if you guys have taken a look at this thing. Category 4 earlier today, and beelining right for us.
Great.
So next week we may not be on the air live.
May not be in the state of Florida.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's for people who don't know categories on hurricanes and whatnot. I'll just tell you, Category 4 is pretty big. I think it's a 3 right now, which is still pretty big. I think like 125 mile an hour winds. Get your.
It's supposed to get upgraded again to a 4 tomorrow, though.
Yeah. If you go in your car and you drive 125 miles an hour and stick your head out the window, it ain't a lot of fun. You can eat quite a few bugs, that way.
It's pretty windy.
But yeah, so next week we may or may not be on. We'll just have to see. Mother Nature will make that call. Hi to everybody who's in the chat room tonight. I don't know, it's like, 5, 6, 10, 12 of you out there. Hi, everybody. Bigfoot's back. Also, we got the regular cast and crew in there. A lot of people from Bounce Radio in there. Some people from Beast Radio, our sponsors. And if anybody's got any questions for Larry Arnold later tonight, by all means, feel free to drop those questions in the chat room. And, hey, everybody. Everybody's saying hi to us, and I'm waving at you like you can actually see it. Jeez. I just waved at the monitor. Lord. I'm sad, I know. Hey, my favorite show came back this past Monday, Prison Break. I love that show. Just the
I thought you were going to say Oz.
No, Oz was a little different.
Yeah, I know. That was your private show you liked. I know.
Yeah, that was my little vice, you know.
Yeah.
It reminds you of the good old days, huh, Ruff?
Yeah, back in the day, you know. But I'm not the one that's got the PayPal account, you know, for bailing you out. That's you, Anthony.
I owe you for that.
Yeah, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for contributing to that. But another one of my favorite shows is coming up here. Oh, not too in the distant future. I can't speak all of a sudden. Not too distant in the future. Matter of fact, let's get that countdown now. All right, cats. How many days until Heroes returns to the airwaves?
We got 17 days, 22 hours, 42 minutes, and 52, 51, 50 seconds to go.
Yay!
Yay!
I love to hear that. It's one of my favorite shows. Heroes, Prison Break. I like those shows that, you know, that, all right, enough of the clapping. Wow, that went on too long. I like those shows that just aren't right. Like Reno 911. You guys ever watch that show?
That is so close to reality, it's scary out there, actually.
I was going to ask you, since you're in that area.
Yes, I don't live in that area, but yes, I do know that area, and yes, they're very close to reality on that.
That's sad.
Yeah, I know.
What a great show.
That's why I live in Arizona. Yeah.
Lake Havasu. You know, it's funny that, you know, you live near Lake Havasu. I live near Daytona, both of which are great, you know, college spring break places.
Right.
Talk about weird. There's some weird stuff that goes on in those. And there's websites you can go look that up on.
Mm-hmm.
But we won't get into that right now.
No, it's a family show.
Poltergeist Tower is one of those great forums that Paula runs, and she's got a para-charity that goes along with it that has a calendar. And what is the date you've got projected for that new calendar for 2009 to come out?
You ask me that every week.
Yes, and until you give me a day, I'm going to keep asking.
Okay. See, I can't answer that because I don't know. I have a few little things to fix, but right now I'm strapped on time. So
who's in the calendar?
Okay, we have. I got to use my memory here. Janice Oberding.
Mm-hmm.
We have Cats.
Mm-hmm.
We have Ghost Chicks. Paranormally Challenged. That's Kathy. Serenity Moore.
Yeah.
That's 5. Okay, think.
Alexandra Holzer.
Yes.
There's quite a few in there.
Reese
Christian.
I was like, no, not Reese Witherspoon. Reese Christian.
Is there a pointier chin in Hollywood, by the way, than Reese Witherspoon? Every time I see her, it's going to be like just this point, like an arrow, before too long. But anyway, lots of great ladies of the paranormal in there, and I'm sure it'll be out by Christmas time. I'm hoping.
Oh, can't forget Dawn. She's in the chat room. She's in the calendar.
Dawn Shy from Pasadena Paranormal Research Society. She also is a writer for Parahub Radio. We got some great articles for people who have not been by the website in a while, parahub.org. There's a writer's page that both Paula and Pete contribute to. Also, Dawn Shy. She does some paranormal fiction. And our good friend Dr. Pam Heath, who's a parapsychologist, does something a little that it's not paranormal. She likes to do recipes, which I thought was pretty cool, actually. So if you haven't been by there, make sure you stop by and check it out. Parahub.org. Coming up in just a little while, Larry Arnold and his all of a sudden I can't speak. Larry Arnold does a little book called Ablaze. It's about spontaneous combustion. We're going to give you a chance to actually pick up an autographed copy of that book, and that's coming up here in just a little while. It's 80s Rock Night tonight. Asia, Heat of the Moment, coming up on Parahub Radio.
Classic rock, paranormal talk. Parahub Radio. Parahub.
Parahub Radio News brought to you by Haunted America Tours. See them at Haunted America Tours. Stop by now. Stop by today. Stop by often. Here's Paula with the latest paranormal news.
Hey, everybody. Let's see. The truth is out there. Well, at least for David Duchovny of The X-Files.
Yeah.
He was just hospitalized for sexual addiction.
Hospitalized or rehabbed?
Well, that's the same thing.
Pretty much.
I'm sure.
David Duchovny of X-Files is also does very, very weird, let's just say, sexually explicit kind of stuff. He used to do the Red Shoe Diaries, I think, on Cinemax. And some other
He's on a show right now where he's actually playing somebody with a sexual addiction.
Well, that's not far from the truth, then. He's playing himself. So, yeah.
Okay.
Good luck to him.
Speaking of Hollywood, they're going to remake the Poltergeist movie.
Really?
Right. But they don't have many details on it yet. The writers and a director are currently negotiating. Sorry about my voice tonight. It's leaving me. Okay. Actress Angelica Houston has been filming a new movie called Choke, and she's now telling the press that her movie set is haunted.
Cool.
It's being filmed in an old psychiatric hospital in New Jersey.
Kind of like the 3 Men and a Baby. Or not.
I heard about that movie. They said, did you hear that there were like images of a boy in the movie?
Oh,
somewhere?
the little boy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like in a curtain.
Yeah, it's not true, by the way.
But they said it was a cutout of Ted Danson.
It is.
It was a joke, yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the DVD as opposed to the VHS version was kind of grainy. You couldn't really see
Right.
it, but the DVD it's pretty obvious. Same with the Wizard of Oz. There was supposedly in one of the scenes at the Yellow Brick Road, there was a munchkin that supposedly hung himself and was hanging from a tree in the background. Yeah, it's not. It's a giraffe. The DVDs kind of clear that up a little bit. So,
Anyway, now, if you didn't think the paranormal field had enough drama, try this one on for size.
Oh, great. More drama. That's just what we need.
Well, this is a different kind of drama. Tonight in England, former soap stars Jennifer Ellison and Phil Oliver, we'll just say Oliver, it's easier to say. Anyway, they joined Yvette Fielding of The Most Haunted for a ghost hunt in Sicily to investigate a handprint and participate in a seance.
Groovy.
Yeah, so they have soap stars on their show now.
Have to get those ratings.
Okay, now this next one isn't quite as funny. Well, it isn't funny. The Haunted Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana was hit by Hurricane Gustav last week.
Yeah. Messed it up bad.
The gift shop was destroyed by a fallen tree. Shutters were torn off, and they now have leaks in the roof. Yeah. And most of the Bradford house was destroyed. So that's pretty sad.
That's a shame. Yeah, because that's was a beautiful place. But like a lot of New Orleans, it's what's going to happen. So maybe we'll all get together and start chipping in money or something and try to do some rebuilding. Or maybe not. I don't know.
Well, we'll have to see. Pete's going to love this next one, but he's not here.
He's listening. He's
Maybe
there.
he's Pete. There's a haunted spice rack for sale on eBay. Not kidding.
For people who don't know, Pete is on a crusade to get that stuff off the internet right now.
Well, last time I checked, bids were up to $200.
No way. $200? Really?
Probably higher now.
Haunted spice rack.
Now, I say if the ghost will cook dinner, I'm buying it.
Comes with a built-in maid. Oh, gosh.
Clean the house, too. I'll pay $1,000 for it.
I've always wanted some haunted cumin.
Oh, that's a spice.
Yeah. There's probably isn't any sage in this spice rack. Otherwise, it wouldn't even be haunted, right?
Right, very true.
There you go. So.
Burning the stage.
Oh, who's our spotlight on tonight? Oh, you got another one?
Yeah, I do have one more.
Okay.
A strange dead sea creature looking a little like a shark was found in Orkney, Scotland. It had a long neck and... Oh, God. I'm just, like, out of it tonight. I'm, like, blanking out here. Anyway, they're going to wait for DNA tests to see what it really is. So, it's a shark with a long neck.
Okay. Well, there we go. That explains everything. In case you didn't know, now you do. Shark with a long neck.
Yeah.
Gotta love that. All right.
A sea giraffe. Okay. Tonight for our paranormal spotlight, we have Tracy Savage, investigator with the Southern California Paranormal Research Center. And I asked her what her favorite paranormal-based movie is, and here's what she said.
Okay, I'm just going to say Ghostbusters because you know what? Every time it's on, I watch it. It doesn't matter which one of them they are. I always watch. We know all the lines in every single movie because we say them to each other. We're like, hey, back off. I'm a scientist, man.
You can check out the Southern California Paranormal Research Center at www.scprs.org. From the internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza, I'm Paula Jedi with Parahub Radio News, brought to you by Haunted America Tours. See them at hauntedamericatours.com.
Our interview with Larry Arnold, author of the book Ablaze, coming up.
Don't you go anywhere. Parahub Radio will return in just a moment.
Parahub Radio, the internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza, Asia. Heat of the moment. It's an 80s rock night tonight. Like how I tied that in. Heat of the moment. I slay myself sometimes. On the line with us right now, Larry Arnold, the author of the book Ablaze, a book about spontaneous human combustion. Hello, Larry. How you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen, and your listening audience. Let's do with it tonight. On this warm, sultry summer night up here in Pennsylvania, how are things down there in Florida?
You know, it's actually kind of breezy. It's warm, but I mean, it is August here anyway, or September already. Wow, how the time flies.
That is scary indeed.
It's already we're getting into fall here, but joining us, we've got Anthony Simonetti, Katz, and Paula, and your book is called Ablaze. And there's a reason it's called that. Spontaneous human combustion. It's a really cool subject. That it was really big, I guess, more so in the 80s with the whole sightings and in search of and when those shows. Hello, everybody okay over there?
We're fine.
Somebody fell into the
we
microphone. But with shows like that, it really kind of brought it to the forefront. What got you interested enough to write a book about it?
We were introduced to the subject when we were in 8th grade. We purchased a pocket book through the local book club in junior high school by Frank Edwards called Stranger Than Science.
Mm-hmm.
Some of your listeners probably remember that. I might even have it on their bookshelf.
Right.
In that book, he had a chapter about Mary Reeser, the Cinder Woman, as she was known in 1951 to be called. And Frank Edwards wrote this amazing story about this woman who just basically overnight incinerated a pile of rubble, powdered ash in her apartment in St. Pete, Florida. Mm-hmm. And we talked to our teachers, and they had never heard about this. We gave a book report to the class, and some of the students were, just fascinated by this. And it never left our mind. And when we went through high school and then into college and the engineering profession, we had never forgotten about this concept of somebody possibly being able to burst into flame. It seemed to belie common sense. It certainly was not supported by anything that we had discovered in the medical literature up to that time. And by that time, we got interested in a wide variety of Fortean phenomena. But while lots of people were looking for Bigfoot and Sasquatch and UFOs, we couldn't find anybody who seemed to be making a study of the so-called spontaneous human combustion subject. Mm-hmm. So when the recession in the 70s hit, we went down to the Library of Congress, tracked down some references to see if Frank Edwards had told the story straight and factually, or whether he'd made it up just to embellish his book.
Right. And
going through the Tampa Tribune, the St. Pete Times, we found this was a factual story. It had generated international attention back in July of 1951 when Mrs. Reeser burned in the fashion that she did. Mm-hmm. The fire officials were baffled. The police department was mystified. Just about everybody seemed to be bumfuddled for about a month. And then suddenly someone suggested, well, Mrs. Weezer was a smoker. She dropped a cigarette in her lap, voila, poof, end of mystery. You know, she slowly smoldered in her own body fat.
Mm-hmm.
There was no mystery at all to begin with. And that struck us as incredibly bizarre, given that some very high-ranking officials, as well as some very intelligent specialists, were completely mystified about how Mrs. Weezer could have transformed overnight from a 175-pound woman to about 8 pounds of ash and rubble without doing any significant fire damage or heat damage to the rest of her apartment. The place was basically localized to her body and the chair in which she sat.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Krogman, whom we later had the privilege of meeting and interviewing, was in St. Pete at that time, and he took a personal interest because he was by profession a forensic anthropologist.
Okay.
And he was baffled how Mrs. Weezer could have burned in this, what he thought would have had to have been an intensely hot, fearsome fire, and yet, as we said, you know, the damage was relegated to her and her chair.
Right.
He was mystified by the lack of the noxious odor that is normally associated with burned flesh.
Mm-hmm.
He looked for signs of foul play. He looked for accelerants. He said in his own, and he could find none, he said in his own experiments with burning cadavers, it took 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 hours in a retort to burn her body so completely as Mrs. Weezer had managed to do herself.
Yeah.
So he was mystified at the time, and then we found out about the case of Dr. Bentley here in north central Pennsylvania. He met a similar fiery fate in 1966,
Mm-hmm.
and talking to the firemen who were involved with that, the coroners, the deputy coroners, they told us that 99% of his body had burned to powder. You know, that's not a typical fatal fire scene.
Right, right.
Particularly one that doesn't involve accelerants or foul play.
Right.
And then when we got the photographs from the local newspaper editor, it just blew us away.
Uh-huh.
We had never seen in any forensic literature a photograph like this before, and this has become now probably the quintessentially classic photograph of classic spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah.
Dr. Bentley left behind one half of one leg lying next to the hole in his bathroom floor through which the rest of his body immolated to a pile of ash and powder on the floor below.
Yeah, it's disturbing pictures to see. Like the picture of, Helen Conaway. I can always remember that one.
Yes.
From when I was a kid. And anybody who has ever seen anything about spontaneous combustion has seen this picture of it's just basically her legs from like the knees down or just above the knees down, sitting in a burnt chair.
Right. The photograph is incredibly gruesome, but also incredibly revelatory. As we've been saying, these are not your typical fatal fire scene photographs.
Right.
These photographs of Dr. Bentley, Mrs. Reeser, Mrs. Conway, and others that we've documented in our book, Ablaze, are incredibly rare. Photographs of incredibly extraordinarily rare events.
Mm-hmm.
With the Conway case, besides the graphic impact of that fire photograph, and we have the full set of a dozen photographs that were kindly given to us by the fire photographer, Bob Meslin,
Uh-huh.
he told us, as did every senior fire official who was at the Conway fire scene, that to a man, they said she had no more than 30 minutes in which she was known, from the time that she was known to be alive until the fire department arrived to put out a fire that didn't need to be put out.
Right.
We just can't explain this. We're just bumfuddled. We're mystified. This can't happen, and yet obviously it did.
Yeah, it's it's one of those weird things. Like, how does a body burn in a specific spot, but yet leave other pieces and not burn up the entire house? That's amazing to me. You know, I mean, you're talking what did you say, like 3,000 degrees? I mean, that's like, you know, when you cremate a body. You know, I mean, it's that hot.
Yeah, most cremationists run the retorts at about 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit. 9 minutes, and then they drop the temperature down to 1,600 to 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit for another hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on how fat the body is.
Right.
But in Krogman's experiments, he said to completely fry bone under controlled laboratory conditions, it took him 12 hours at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's really hot, given that lava flows at 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
You know what kind of incredible temperatures you're dealing with.
Right. Has anyone ever lived through it?
Yes, and this completely flips off the skeptics and the debunkers. In Ablaze, we have 2 chapters that are devoted to survivors of partial spontaneous human combustion. The first person that we met had the privilege of interviewing was Jack Angel, who experienced his amazing fate in 1974, November of that year, When he went to sleep in his motor home, he was a traveling salesman, and he was anticipating awakening the following morning to meet with a potential sales lead.
Mm-hmm.
He slept through that lead, and when he awakened, he noticed that his right forearm was burned black. As he told us, it was charred crisp to the bone.
Ooh.
And yet he felt no pain. He got up, got dressed, left the motorhome, subsequently lost consciousness, came to in the Savannah General Memorial Hospital, surrounded by a team of physicians marveling about the injuries that their patient had succumbed to and trying to understand it. Bottom line is, to be really succinct with the Jack Angel case, right forearm was burned crisp to the bone.
Mm-hmm.
He had other internal heat-like injuries to his spinal column, to his back, to his groin, nape of his neck, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the full medical documentation of his treatment. The right forearm had to be amputated. The burns were that severe. And the attending physicians diagnosed the burn injuries as, quote-unquote, internal in origin.
And it didn't wake him up? I mean...
No, he slept through this.
Wow. That is amazing.
The skeptics come back and say, well, he fiddled with the water system in his motorhome, and these are scalding water burns. Well, no, they're not.
You can't get third-degree burns from water. I mean,
you can get
third-degree
burns, but you're not going to get fourth or fifth-degree burns, which is what happened to Jack Angel, and you're not going to get the skin to be charred black from scalding water.
Right. And you're certainly not going to sleep through it. That's for sure.
Probably not.
We're talking with author Larry Arnold. He's written a book called Ablaze. It's about spontaneous human combustion. I'm going to open it up here to my co-hosts. Anthony, you got a question?
Absolutely. I was wondering if, nobody really hears about this a whole lot anymore. It doesn't seem as big as it was in the 80s. Is there any reason for that? Has it seemed to slow down a little bit?
Well, like so many Fortean subjects, spontaneous human combustion seems to have its moments when the public becomes incredibly fascinated and fiery intrigued by it, and then the interest slacks off for a while. Coincidentally or synchronistically, depending on one's viewpoint, in about an hour and 15 minutes from right now, East Coast time, if you turn on Fox Reality Channel, they're going to run a program called Extremely Weird at midnight, and then again at 2 a.m. this coming morning. And in that program, your listeners can see us talk about the Reeser case and some others.
Cool. That's tonight?
That's tonight, yeah.
Wow, right after our show over here. We end at midnight on the East Coast, and that's fascinating. I mean, what a coincidence.
Exactly. We did not know that until a few minutes ago ourselves.
Wow.
We've been co-producing a new program for the Discovery Channel. The working title is Discovery Investigates. That might change, but the series will probably debut this fall. And one of the show's themes will be spontaneous human combustion.
Wow, that's awesome. Paula, what is your question for Larry?
I had to turn my volume up. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay, now my mind just went blank. So I got put on the spot. What is the actual scientific explanation of how spontaneous combustion occurs, if there is one?
That's a wonderful question, Paul, and we're going to try to answer it for you in two ways. If you want the conventional orthodox science explanation, these people have either burned up in their own body fat by a process they call the wick effect, in which the body is externally ignited and then slowly immolates over many, many hours, smoldering in its own body fat, much like a candle would burn. Or if they don't accept the wick theory or don't proffer the wick theory, they simply say that spontaneous human combustion is a medieval superstition, a myth, it's a fairy tale, it's downright impossible. One of the persons who professed that viewpoint was Dr. Lester Adelson out in Ohio. And we asked Dr. Adelson many years ago as we were winding up research for a book, and he was looking at the photos of Conway, which he labeled a hoax because, as he told us, bodies just don't burn this way. Well, yes, they do. Sorry, Dr. Adelson. But his explanation was that these are simply myths. The subject is a superstitious idiocy born of medieval ignorance.
Uh-huh.
And we said, well, Dr. Adelson, have you ever investigated one of these cases yourself to come to that conclusion? His answer was, no, I haven't.
Uh-huh.
On the other hand, we've devoted now more than 3 decades to this subject, and some people might call us bizarre, crazy, highly focused perhaps. But we see a true mystery here, and what history presents to us, and we present to fire officials, or that history has presented to fire officials who we've had the privilege to then interview,
Mm-hmm.
speaks to a true mystery, a true anomaly that cries out for understanding and explanation at some point.
Right. Well, you got to have a hobby, right?
They have a hobby. It's a wonderful hobby. We love it.
Speaking of that, do you have any personal experience with spontaneous human combustion?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us about it a little bit?
Sure. Let's define spontaneous human combustion so that everybody knows exactly what we're all talking about here.
Okay.
It's when a person's body will smoke, blister, or combust in the absence of a known, readily identified burning agent.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, there's no flame, there's no caustic chemical, there's no high amperage electricity, there's no radioactive material, nor is there nearby radiant heat.
So that includes things like pacemakers. That would rule it out.
Yes.
Okay.
So, real simply, given that as the definition of spontaneous human combustion, then anybody who experiences sunburn has, by definition, experienced and likely survived first or second degree spontaneous burning of flesh.
Okay. Interesting. Is there a chemical that maybe some of these people have in their body that could spark that, or
so to speak, spark?
No pun intended there.
We've looked at niacin, we've looked at enzymes, we've looked at hydrogenase, we've looked at other chemicals in the body. The body is a very complex chemical cauldron, of course,
mm-hmm.
and just as some people are allergic to ragweed and others are not, it's certainly likely that some people's bodies react with certain chemical compounds in a way that is atypical, abnormal to the general population. Which would cause the body's thermostat, the hypothalamus gland, to kick into overdrive and produce a tremendous amount of thermogenesis in the body very quickly.
Uh-huh.
We've looked at electricity in the body as well as a possible mechanism because so many of these fires, quote-unquote fires, appear to be more like an electrical phenomenon rather than oxidizing combustion.
Right. Yeah, they don't burn the incidence of spontaneous combustion, at least from the pictures. They don't burn like a normal fire should, the way they look.
That's our conclusion too. In most of the cases, absolutely yes. So we look at other things then. We certainly consider, could this person have dropped a cigarette on his or her lap? And some of the victims were known to be smokers. Hands down, that's what the evidence shows. On the other hand, we also have victims of SHC who were known to be non-smokers. There was no dropped match, no cigarette, no arson murder in the vicinity.
Okay.
For hapless individuals.
Right. Wow. Katz, what is your question now? I'm sure you have one.
Yeah, well, Anthony stole mine as usual. No, I'm just kidding. No, so, I have been listening. So there really isn't a common thread found with any of these cases. Is that correct?
That is correct. If
right.
there were a common thread, if there was a common factor that we could identify, it would certainly help to narrow down, the explanation for these cases. But as one of our critics chastised us, he said, Larry, your problem is you've got cases that are all over the place. You've got people who have, limbs that burned versus the other extreme where you've got people whose whole bodies are burned except for a limb or two left behind to prove that pile of ash once belonged to a human body.
Right.
Well, that's too bad. That's problematic, but that's what nature presents to us, and we have to deal with the evidence that nature gives to us, not the way that the skeptics would like nature to act.
Right. And it is a weird picture. I will admit that. If I came across that, I honestly don't know that I would know what to do. Because
you're not alone in that. We've spoken to many firemen in this country and overseas as well. Some of whom have been at these incredible fire scenes, and because the phenomenon itself is so rare, they don't have the academic, the scholastic, nor the experiential background to know what to do with these cases when they come upon them for the first time. We've actually spoken to firemen who have walked through the ashes of the victims because they did not know what they were doing.
Yeah,
They were looking for a body. They didn't have a body. They had a pile of ash, and they literally walked through their fire fatality.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. How many cases do you think don't get reported? Because they just don't know what it is.
That's a wonderful question. We have no way to estimate that other than to simply say in general terms, we know that the phenomenon, rare that it is occurs far more frequently than history would allow us to suspect, because the cases have either been, not identified as spontaneous combustion, or in some cases we know they've been misrepresented or covered up for fear of ridicule or for other reasons, perhaps.
Right. How many documented cases of spontaneous human combustion are there?
We've got about 500 in our database.
500, really?
Yeah.
Dating back how far?
Going back to the Roman and Greek times.
Wow.
I wouldn't have thought there would have been that many. And this is just what's been documented.
That's right, what's documented. And in the medieval period, until, let's say, actually until the last maybe 150 to 200 years, paupers, the poor people, the common folk, if they met a strange death, it didn't make the news. You know, you only made the news if you're a wealthy, noble person.
Right.
And while we have a few of those in the database, and we certainly have some of the common folks because their deaths were so odd that they were picked up by the local medical professionals and remarked upon in the medical literature. We have no way to know how many, people living out in the hinterlands experienced, whole body ashen forms of physical transition and never made the local newspaper nor the medical journals of the day.
Yeah, it's hard to report on something that you really don't understand. And
Exactly.
I imagine, a lot of people would just look at it as, he fell asleep with a cigarette in his hand, or, fell asleep with a candle next to the bed, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I've seen one show, I can't remember what it was. Somebody tried to recreate it with burning a pig or something like that, and couldn't get it to work. And it's just it's amazing, the body.
That was the human wick effect experiment. We've conducted it ourselves, although on a slightly smaller scale, and we can't get it to work. It's an interesting concept, or it's an interesting subject that you've raised, because what we found quite often is the debunkers who want to dismiss spontaneous human combustion as reality and fall back on this wick theory repeatedly either do not conduct the proper experiment under scientific conditions, and depending on the specific case, they will actually misrepresent the evidence that they're trying to refute.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they failed miserably to do so. One experimenter offered as a substitute for the human body a fistful of candles that he was going to burn.
Uh-huh.
And we challenge you or Kat or Anthony or Paula or any of your listeners tonight, if they've got a body made up of a couple strands of wick, cotton,
Mm-hmm.
fiber, and paraffin wax, and you're still living, let us know, because that's a real Fortean phenomenon in itself.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Gollum effect, or something like that. It's, good luck to you then.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, we have. Go ahead.
Don't the majority of these cases seem to happen when they're sleeping?
Do you have cases when the victims have been asleep lying in bed? We have one amazing case documented in a blaze where two people were sleeping in the bed, one of whom awakened to find that the bedmate was burned horrifically in the context of what would properly be described as spontaneous human combustion, and yet the person slept through the fiery fate that was happening literally centimeters away in the same bed.
Mm-hmm.
We also have victims who have been walking down the street in a boat in the middle of the lake, driving automobiles, conversing, doing mundane human-type chores, and poof.
So awake or asleep, it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't seem to.
Somebody in the chat room, real quick, asked, what about someone who was drinking hard alcohol, and can the stomach contents ignite? Like if they fell asleep smoking or something like that.
Right. It was believed in through the middle part of the 1800s that all victims of spontaneous human combustion were imbibers. They drank heavily, and their body tissues became saturated with, spirituous liquors, which were highly flammable.
Mm-hmm.
So they lit a pipe or dropped a cigar or a cigarette on themselves or something. They were, basically a human funeral pyre.
Right.
We found that not to work. Von Liebig in 1852, if memory serves the year, he did an experiment because he wanted to prove that alcohol-saturated bodies could produce this so-called spontaneous human combustion phenomenon. And he found it didn't work, and therefore he concluded that SHC itself can't happen because the experimental premise that he attempted to apply to the subject didn't work.
Right.
Well, that's very bad, fallacious reasoning, but he threw it, and pretty much has stuck to the wall ever since.
Right.
In terms of spontaneous combustion.
You know how scientists are. If you can't recreate it, it can't be done.
Right.
So, Real quick, the book is called Ablaze. I guess get time for one more question. Anthony, did you have one?
Yeah, sure did. I was wondering if you thought it would be smart to invest in a fire extinguisher with a belt clip.
Actually, one of the survivors who experienced Sponcom twice.
Twice.
The last time we met with him to do a television show, we understand that he brought a fire extinguisher with him to the hotel room, just in case.
It's like those guys that get hit by lightning 3 or 4 times. After a while, they just kind of get a little squirrely.
See, I think it's an untapped market.
There you go. You might have something there. We've been talking with author Larry Arnold. His book is called Ablaze, and it's in stores now. You can go to the Parahub, Parahub Amazon store. We'll have it in there for you. Larry, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
You're quite welcome. It's been fun doing this interview, and remember, in 1 hour from right now in Eastern Time, you can turn on Fox Reality and check us out on Extremely Weird.
Fox Reality, the show is called Extremely Weird. If you're on the East Coast, it comes on in, about an hour. If you're anywhere else, check your local listings at around midnight. Fox Reality, watch Larry Arnold on TV. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The show your mama should have warned you about.
Oh, gnarly!
Parahub Radio.
Parahub Radio, Internet's only rock and roll paranormal extravaganza. It's 80s rock night Van Halen from 1984 there, and I'll Wait. Van Halen, one of the first concerts that I ever saw back in, I was 1982 was the first time I saw him. I was just a youngster then. Welcome to Parahub Radio. Anthony, Katz, and Paula joining me tonight. And hey, it is time for... It's trivia time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's trivia time. You in the chat room and you listening across the great universe can play along with us. Tonight, Katz, Paula, and Anthony are going to figure out what these three things have in common, and I'll go systematically. We'll start with Paula first, since she always goes last with the interviews.
Uh-oh.
All right, so everybody ready?
I bet you're giving me a hard one.
Actually, no. I'm going to...
A hard question, that is.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
It is after 11. We can get naughty if we need to. Let's see. It's 11 o'clock Eastern. Yeah. I'm going to give you an easy one. Salivary, mammary, pituitary.
You're a perv. They're all glands.
Yay! Congratulations. Yay. You have 1 point. Let me write that down. Paula has 1 point. Anthony, this one goes to you.
Yes.
Bermuda. Love. Right.
Ding. What is triangles?
Triangles correct. Congratulations.
Yes.
Cats.
And I'm going to get the hard one. Thanks.
Spaceman Spiff. Stupendous Man. Safari Owl. What do those three things have in common?
They're all the names of my ex-boyfriends?
There you go. No,
hey,
that would be wrong.
I know Anthony knows it.
Time is up.
I don't know.
Paula, we'll go to you. Spaceman Spiff. Stupendous Man. Safari Owl.
They're all superheroes from another dimension.
No, wrong. And so far, nobody in the chat room's gotten it either. All right, finally. Anthony, you got an answer? Spaceman Spiff. Spaceman Spiff. Stupendous Man. Safari Owl.
Well, they sound like they're all guys. Maybe comic guys?
Close, but nobody got it. They're all characters in the comic Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, my God.
They're characters Calvin plays. In the comic
I almost got it.
Almost.
You were
Can
close,
I get a half
yes.
a point for that? I said comic guys. They're all guys that are in a comic.
Okay, I'll give you half a point for that.
Yes.
Okay. So now we go, let's see, to cats.
Yes.
All right. Chest. Baseball. Bounce.
Balls? They all have balls now.
Close, but no.
Glands, False night. Holy.
I know. Next thing we'll be going with muscles.
Oh.
Anyway.
Paula, you have an answer.
got it.
Chest, baseball, bounce.
I can't say hair.
No.
Damn you, Paula! Damn you!
Oh, time's up. No answer. All right, Anthony,
Please.
falls to you again. Chest, baseball, bounce.
Radio.
Come on, Anthony, get creative.
Things that start with B and one that starts with C.
No. They're all passes in basketball.
Oh,
Chest.
God. Chest?
Chest.
Chest is the pass?
Chest pass. When you got your hands on either side and you throw it from your chest. Yes.
How, in the love of God, am I supposed to know that?
No.
Well, originally it wasn't your question.
Well, how the hell was I supposed to know that? What?
Alrighty, so where did we leave off?
Next.
Uh,
No, Anthony.
Anthony.
Who's next? Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, we'll go with you. What do these
Okay.
three things have in common? Dog, pillow, fist.
Oh! I'm so glad it wasn't mine.
Pages
I
in the
said
Kama
roughhouse.
Sutra.
No, but good
Roughhouse.
try. Paula, dog, pillow, fist. You in the chat room can play along too if you'd like.
Pretty scared.
They're not certain styles.
Are you sure?
You're taking my answer. You can't do that.
You have to give Anthony credit for that one. Dog, mo. Pillow, talk. Let's see.
Dog, pillow, fist. 5 seconds.
Things you kick.
No. All right, cats, it's up to you.
It's fight.
There you go. Dog fight, pillow fight, fist fight.
See, I managed to pry my head out of the gutter there for that one. Took
Look
me a
at
while.
you go.
She peeked, Peter.
I did
So
not.
everybody has a point. Anthony has a point and a half.
Yes.
All right. So let's see. Who goes to what? Anthony here. Let's see. Lightning, watchers, strangers. What do those three things have in common?
What was the question?
Lightning, watchers, strangers. Five seconds. Time's up. Paula, you probably know this one. Lightning, watchers, strangers.
Things that happen in the night.
No. Cats, any guess?
God.
Lightning,
Lightning,
watchers,
watchers, strangers.
stranger. Heat.
No.
Oops, I went in the gutter. Sorry.
Novels by Dean Koontz.
Oh well.
Now everybody's going, oh, I knew that one. All right.
Paula?
Oh, yeah, we'll go to Paula.
Anthony? Oh, it's my turn.
Let's see. A saw, a comb, a gear.
Things with teeth.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Paula gets 2. Another point there, so you have 2. Let's see. Where are we going with this? Is it Anthony? Yeah.
I think cats.
Is it
I
cats?
think it's me.
Okay, cats. Paper, rag, Barbie.
Doll.
There you go.
Okay.
Alrighty. Give me an easy one there.
Thank you.
Let's see where we're going to Anthony.
Okay.
Let's see. Catfish, goose, tug.
Catfish, goose, and tug.
Mm-hmm.
Boats?
No. And I'm not even going to go to Paula or Cats on this one.
It's the goose one, isn't it?
Yeah, that one got me.
Nicknames of baseball pitchers. Pitchers: Catfish Hunter,
There he goes.
Goose Gossage, and Tug McGraw. So,
Ah.
I don't know who this is in the chat room.
He's got the answer.
Yeah, he does. Nookumpook. He's got all the answers. He's doing good. So, let's see. Where are we at? Cats? Yeah.
No, I just did one. So it's Paula, isn't it?
Okay. I'll give it. All right, one more for everybody. Burgess Meredith, Frank Gorshin, Cesar Romero.
Those names sound familiar, but...
What do these three things have in common? Burgess Meredith, Frank Gorshin, Cesar Romero.
They're all
5 seconds.
actors.
Yeah, but that's not the answer I'm looking for. Anthony?
I got nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
Could you say that again, please, Ruff?
Sure. What do these three things have in common? Burgess Meredith, Frank Gorshin, Cesar Romero.
They all played villains on Batman's The Series.
Very good.
She got that from the chat room.
No, don't even have that window open. I'm stumbling on the other tab, okay?
You're a cheater.
No, I watched that show. I'm a Batman freak. Don't even go there. Don't go there.
I kind of thought that that Paula would have that one, but, you know.
Well, why?
It's a nerdy thing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Anthony.
I love you too.
Final question for you. A river, a pickup truck, a hospital. What do they have in common?
Ding 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 ding.
Anthony.
Beds.
Beds, absolutely. You got it. All right, Paula, final one for you. Far Out Space Nuts. The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis and Gilligan's Island.
Say the first two again.
Far Out Space Nuts. The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Gilligan's Island.
Guess they're all TV shows from the 60s.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily the 60s, but not quite the answer I'm looking for, but almost there.
I've not heard of the first two.
All right. Go ahead, Kat. Give it to me.
Could you read it again, or say it again?
Far Out Space Nuts. The Many Loves of Dobie Gillis. Gilligan's Island.
Oh, the guy who plays Gilligan's on him. I forget his name, though. He was in those shows.
You're there, if you can give me the...
But can I IMDb it?
No.
No, I won't. I don't remember his name. Oh, my God.
Everybody in the chat room's dancing around it, too.
Guy that played... Oh, Bob Denver.
There you go. Thanks to the chat room for saving you on that one.
I cheated there. I'll admit it. I did look.
Yes. You know, we are Parahub Radio. We got the special extended shows now. People begged, pleaded. They said, hey, go longer. We said, okay, we can do that. So we decided to go, for about an hour and a half. We got some 80s music coming up for you. Right now, though, it's time for one of my favorite segments.
And now, another episode of Tales from Anthony.
Tales from Anthony. Anthony leads one of the strangest lives of anybody we know. Things just automatically happen to him every day. He's got a different story for us. What happened recently? Or is this one of your classic ones?
Oh, this is definitely a classic. The only reason I thought about it is because I dug up the shirt that I was actually wearing on the day that it happened. But
do we want to know?
No.
It's
But anyway,
not a presidential kind of shirt, if you know what I mean.
It's smeared with poo, and you'll understand why. So anyway.
Oh, great.
Just kidding. So when I was younger, of course I watched. I'm Italian. I watched every mobster movie, every cop movie. Love that kind of stuff. Very fascinated with it. I'm leaving school. It's my birthday, and I'm going down to the buses. And as I get down to the buses, this huge 6-foot, 350-pound Italian in a pinstripe suit walks up to me and asks me if I'm Tony Simonetti. Yeah. I need you to come with me. No. And so I'm like clinging to my friends. The guy grabs me by the arm and is trying to escort me away from my bus. So I start screaming, freaking out. The bus attendants are there. They're saying, "No, Anthony, go." They're pushing me towards this guy. Meanwhile, I've seen every after-school special. I've seen every mobster movie, and this thing just wasn't right. Number one, I don't know this guy. He's a stranger. He's going to offer me candy and do weird things to my
your junk.
Or he's going to get around the bus, pull out a revolver with a silencer, and I'm gone. So
right.
I'm freaking out. I'm panicking. I'm screaming. I'm crying. I think my life is going to end. And here, all these people around me that are supposed to support me are pushing me towards this crazy-looking Italian in a pinstripe suit.
That's never
so
a
I
good
tried.
thing.
No. So I try to break away for the principal, but then the bus driver grabs me and says, No, you got to go with them. And, meanwhile, my mother now has to get out of the limo. She can see what's happening. So she gets out of the limo that they had ordered for me for my birthday to be this wonderful, pleasant surprise that actually, in fact, just
traumatized you.
Terrified. Yeah, it traumatized me for about what seemed like, 15 minutes as I'm struggling with this huge Italian to get away from him. Happy birthday, Anthony.
Nice. So where does the poo come in?
I'm
Oh,
sure
never mind. I know where. Okay, that came later. All right, I understand.
Hey, this is Roughhouse. Thanks for listening to this week's Parahub Radio Podcast. As always, you can hear us live every Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, 3 a.m. if you happen to be in the UK. Just go to parahub.org and click on the chat, and you can listen to us and talk to us while we're doing the show. Thanks again. I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.